Welcome everyone to the December 17th, 2024 Pound Ridge Library Board of Trustees meeting, the last meeting of the year. I'm gonna start with, if I can find it, just kind of a year in review, and then we'll go into the bulk of the meeting and the agenda. Was it in here? Is it in the link? Yes, I did. I sent it to you. I asked for feedback. I never got any. Okay. Weird. I have it. All right. So as the year comes to a close, I just wanted to issue an annual report, which we will post after the fact. I apologize. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, continue to be amazed at the dedication of our staff and all volunteers, and also the amount of support we have from our community as we strive to make this library a place where everyone is welcome and where everyone wants to be. So I'm going to go over a few things this year that I think were great successes. One is about finances. So from a finance perspective, as fiduciaries, as the Board of Trustees, we're committed to ensuring fiscal responsibility. Prudent financial management is something that we continue to work on to ensure that we stay within our budget, and that we also, though, use our budget to enhance services to our community. Our finance committee works diligently to make sure that we have efficient allocation of all of our resources, which continues to allow us to provide the services and programs that we do to our community. Which brings me to programs and special events. This past year was just another amazing year in the quality of our services and our ability to offer programs and special events that are geared to our entire community. No matter what your interests are, you can find something here at the library that keeps you engaged, teaches you something new, or just entertains you. And we continue to listen to our community, which is why we continue to offer courses and programs in Zoom as well as in person to make sure that we meet the needs of the entire community. Technology and innovation. This has been another huge year for the library. And as our community embraces technology, we do here at the library. And this past year, we continue to evolve our digital infrastructure, including upgrades in technology to our staff, as well as to our patrons. And we want to ensure that everyone has access to the technology that we offer. Next, our facility. And our physical space is really the heart of the library, and we are really proud of the improvements. I was a little late as I was over in the children's room looking at what we've done over there. But it's hard not to walk into this library without smiling and just feeling a sense of calm at all of the improvements that we've made over the past years. This year, as everyone knows, we committed to enhance the children's room to match the feel of the rest of the library. And we look forward to seeing our young patrons' faces as they embark on the updated children's room. Our community, we continue to collaborate with our community, and we value the support that we receive and have received throughout this past year. We collaborate with community organizations, local businesses, and town officials, and we welcome the opportunity to continue to do that in the coming years. Volunteers, a big thank you to anyone who volunteered this year. Our library is fortunate to have volunteers who value the library as much as we do. We could not do what we do every day without those efforts, and we applaud and thank you for giving your time to this place. The foundation. We also want to give a big thank you to the Library Foundation. They continuously support our efforts through grants so that we can continue to be the community library that we strive to be. We appreciate their support throughout this past year and look forward to continuing that collaboration. And so what's next? What's to come in 2025? We look forward to another amazing year at the library as we continue to ensure that we uphold our mission by providing access to a broad variety of materials, information, programs, and services, and then to ensure we have a multifunctional meeting space to meet the needs of the residents of the town of Pound Ridge. And finally, I want to thank our staff for all that they have done this past year to ensure our mission and vision is realized. Thank you to the Board of Trustees, those that served throughout 2024 and to our new trustees. And I look forward to working with all of you in the coming year to ensure that the library is a place where everyone feels welcome. So we will post the year in review as well with the board materials from today. Okay, quorum. Rich Levan, Jenna Weiss, Ann Benevico,
Present.
Mike Clark,
Here.
and John Cristiano.
Here.
Valerie Nelson here. Absent today are Selena Shen, Lexi, and Bob. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the November 19th meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes from the November 19th, 2024 meeting.
Anyone second? Exactly. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. We need to set the January meeting date. So I think we were trying for that third week, which would be January 21st if it's a Tuesday, or January 23rd if it's a Thursday. Anyone have any conflicts they're aware of? Jennifer, anything on the calendar yet that we know of? All right, so let's go with January 21st. January 21st at 7:30 p.m. Okay, Mr. Gilman, you're up.
Evening. The state of the buildings and the grounds are fine. It's winter time, so outside is relatively easy to take care of. There's nothing major going on that needs the board to think about, and and everything is up to date as far as I know of. That's all I have to say, other than a thank you for the year and thank you for the past several years, and wishing you all good holidays. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone have any questions for Ken? Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well. Okay, Mike, treasurer's report.
Mainly just to talk about the actions that happened during the month. One of the first was that several of our contractors for the children's room wanted to have their checks, so I transferred some money from to checking in order to cover checks that were done in between meetings. The good news is, and I don't know, is that part? I'm not sure if that's part of your report as well, Jennifer, but with the excellent work by Jennifer and staff, we received the $22,000 410 check from the New York Construction Aid for the roof repair. So thank you and congratulations. During the meeting for the Finance Committee, discussion occurred about the possibility of transferring some of our activities to electronic bill pay rather than checks. The pros of that approach are that it's possibly somewhat more efficient. It might have somewhat of cost savings in terms of material. And some people have also said that in these days, it might be more secure than having checks. There is a question of our protocols in terms of authorizations, in terms of signatures. So that needs to be evaluated. I don't really find a bylaws that deals with it, but I think it's merits some discussion. Both of the banks that we use offer electronic bill pay. There is a protocol at Chase Bank where a bookkeeper such as Heidi would become a sub-user, so she wouldn't need to become a signer in order to be submitting checks. So that was one hurdle that I discovered. The second is that they offer the ability to have a maximum amount so that you can set an amount above which there would have to be a signer on the account to approve that amount. So that's two things that we need to discuss and then go forward with an electronic bill pay program. In terms of the amounts from Chase, Key, and from our financial advisors, they're all stable. We're not earning great interest rates, and that may even become somewhat worse. So if they cut rates again, but there's probably further discussion when we talk from the finance committee about next steps that way.
Just a question, Mike, on if you know where the language is that requires us to have two signers over 2,500, because it's not in the bylaws.
I assume that, like some other things that
It's lore.
companies that I've worked with, it's tradition.
Yes, unwritten rules. Okay.
So no, so that's, again, if there is no law, that's something that we need to establish a comfort level
Right.
in terms of where we
Yeah.
want to be.
Because the one thing I was saying as a signer, like, I just get a pile of checks and I sign them. So it's not like I'm doing due diligence right before I sign a check. I mean, clearly if something's over 2,500, maybe I'll look at the name, but that's not necessarily sufficient. And so I think that I don't think it takes away, from our role in any way by having electronic bill pay. And again, I agree. I think it actually protects us in many ways as well. I don't know if anyone else has a view.
I'd say too, I just think the, even some of the issues you brought up, Mike, with authorizing and things, I mean, we can come up with some back end kind of check, whether Jennifer, it's, after it's paid, you get the list of warrants and just go down, right? It should kind of add up or something like that, right? I mean, I think there's some back end check we can try to do instead of, authorizing, and 2,500 seems low, just looking at even these warrants here. From that, especially after it's approved, and assuming we put a check like that in control. So I think it's still worth pursuing.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of it. Are we suggesting though that we do away with dual approval of checks, or
Well, you wouldn't be writing checks anymore.
right? But I mean, electronically, is there a way to require just one and done?
Yep. And it's going to be Heidi.
It would be Heidi,
not us.
unless we set a cap of some amount over which then a signer would actually have to approve, and it wouldn't be ever two. If we pick a certain amount that as a cap where Heidi doesn't have the approval to submit, then we'd have to have a signer physically approve that at Chase Bank.
Well, it makes me nervous having one person, let alone person who's not a trustee, with that kind of responsibility. Maybe
well, she prints the checks now, right? So it's
yeah, but they come to us, and I mean, if you saw the check made out to Richard Levan, you would
right, but
not
you're going to
sign
see
it.
that here, right? So
Is that before or after? The
it's
vote?
after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not good on the how-to part. I make my living dealing with securities fraud, so I'm like particularly nervous
hear you.
about these.
I hear you.
things.
I mean, and then I would also tell you on the 2 eyes thing, when you look at today's checks, there were only 3 that were over 2,500.
Okay.
So it's not, and there's some months it's none. I mean, it's not common. And this month, the 3 that were over were all related to children's room.
Okay. I do like the idea of a cap.
Okay, sorry, not all. One is Oxford.
I still think a cap would be a prudent.
We could talk about a cap.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is that the majority of our checks are well under the 2,500 amount. What I would like to suggest is a pilot program for this month where we start electronic bill pay and have a cap of 2,500, and then I will take it on my responsibility that those checks would then come to me to approve, if that's okay with the board.
I think that's a very sober approach.
I'm good with that.
It's like,
Done.
All right, we now need to, speaking of finances, look at the, approve the warrants. Did everyone have a chance to look at everything? Anyone have any questions?
There was one last minute bill that was added in for Leanne Durkin, our in-house yoga person. So the total amount is just slightly different. It's in the amount that's in the trustee Google Drive is correct, but the printed version in your folders is not.
So what's the total, Jennifer? Do you have it?
Gonna guess. 59,202.54. Break that up.
So I just have a few questions. The Hector Romero, was all that work completed? All, did he do everything?
Sure
Wow.
did.
Okay. And then I just had a question about TSC voice over IP.
Mhm.
Is that a bill we get every month? I wasn't,
It is.
we do, because to me, it like was a new, I guess I've never noticed it before.
It might have been billed to our credit card rather than onto our checking
Oh,
account. I know
okay.
that they were messing around with that for a while, so that
Oh.
could be it.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I just had a question about that United Healthcare Oxford. It's written
Yes.
twice. Was that just a typo or did we pay it twice?
No, sorry, that's my, you're absolutely right. I beg
Okay.
your pardon.
Nope, that's okay.
Let's delete
Just want to make
that.
sure.
Okay, so it looks like the new amount is the 54,881.75. Good catch. Thank you, Val.
5418.
881.
Eight-
They're on
eight.
the screen if you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, any other questions? All right, so I need a motion to approve the warrants in the amount of $54,881.75.
I move that we approve the warrants of $54,881.75 for the.
I
this month.
second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Somebody.
Yes, I will. Yep. And I can enroll in bill pay at the same.
All right, moving on to committees. John, finance.
We had a finance committee meeting, was it last week? Last week. And good meeting. We went over a few things, including bill pay, which we won't cover again. We also had some conversations about the investments in the trust, as well as, you know, some of our, I'll call general reserve, right? We have some monies, right, above and beyond what, you know, what we're collecting from the town. I had a conversation with our audit partner to go over what exactly we could invest in, as far as the trust or even the reserves. And this was prompted kind of long term since last year when we kind of switched our investment advisor. The idea was some of that money's been sitting there for decades. Returns are not great. How do we get sort of fiduciary like returns right out of that in a little better way? We're not talking about anything high risk, but something a little more than just rolling taxable munis. And he had actually had suggestions. We had some bonds coming due in the trust. He had some suggestions from his desk of moving to some, you know, some other choices, I guess. And we were looking into that. We didn't change anything at this point, but I wanted to get the rules. So that's where I spoke to the audit partner, because there is some reference in there about what's permissible, what's not. He's actually of the mind that the trust probably fall outside the rules for the library because they sort of were grandfathered in. So that's actually more freedom there on the trust side and what we can do with that. On the other monies, which is sort of our general reserve, the money we're kind of moving around to CDs at this point, that's probably more restrictive. So that's, the thought was to try to invest that we might have to think about, and stick to treasuries or New York bonds or that if we deem a portion of that we probably can get a little more yield out of. That was sort of a current topic. It really got sprung up by, we had these maturities come up in the portfolio. He wanted to know what he wanted to do with it. Do you want to roll into these other taxable munis or not? There's a question of liquidity as well. What does that do to price and earnings and things? So it was a good discussion. We're staying in the munis right now, but we're going to explore what that means as we go forward. Particularly for now that I have the guidance from the partner that those monies are probably outside of the pretty restrictive rules for what we have here. I say that too, given that the library rules are for all types of libraries, ones that run completely on donations, as opposed to others that run on taxes. So from a risk perspective, I really think it's pretty low on our side. So what does that mean for our investments as we go forward? And then just to remind everybody, right, that there's 3 trusts. They all have kind of different rules, and they're pretty much for capital improvements. I think they started in the 70s. It does lead, though, to some other discussions we had on the finance committee of just actually what we present even at these meetings. I'm going to just talk in buckets, and we'll get to it as we experiment here. But if I think of the money we get from the town, it's about 774 something thousand. That's pretty much what we get from the town. We are a nonprofit, and we pretty much spend, right? We build a budget to spend that much money. We make some other money from passports and other things, and this puts aside any sort of capital improvements, right? We really don't have much capital improvement built into the budget. That comes from kind of the other monies. But I think thinking of the operating budget as we go over, what are we doing? Where are we overspending or not spending? That should be one view. We don't necessarily get that view from the financials we look at. These financials are like cash. So if we spend money on the children's room or we get a check for the roof, that all gets included and mishmashed in the sort of operating numbers. I think a more prudent way would be to look at it from an operating perspective so that we know where we are against our budget each month, sort of bucket one. And we can be above or below. We have the luxury, right? We have some extra, right? We have some extra funds. So, I mean, if we make the decision to go over by 20 or 10 or 50 or whatever it is, we understand where it is and where it's coming from. So that's kind of bucket one is the operating. Bucket two would be this general reserve where we do have some extra monies that have been built up over the years. We can think about that. And again, is there a way maybe we put a portion of that away, get a little more return out of it until we figure out what we're doing with it as it sits there, just being prudent, right? Responsible with the monies that we have in our care. And then that third bucket is the trust. And I think thinking of them like that is just a more realistic way to think about it. It sort of focuses it in our head. And we're going to work on those presentations. It's not necessarily next month, but we're going to be working on that to just help out and maybe explain the numbers a little better. Also open any suggestions as we kind of roll these out, but that's one of the things we want to accomplish at the Finance Committee.
We changed investment advisors a year or 2 ago. Is there any brief
Richard?
history of?
Richard, can you
Yes.
hold your microphone closer with
Sure.
people at home can't hear
Yeah,
you?
okay, sure. Is there any brief history to that that we could?
Yeah, do you want to share, John?
Sure. So the previous advisor was a former board member that I understand managing the funds for like 15 years or something. He lives in Arizona, charging us a fee, whatever. It wasn't a big fee, but it was a fee. And it was pretty, I would just say it was pretty conservative. We didn't really touch that money for years and years and years. And it was just a laddered taxable muni bond kind of thing. So I would guess we earned 3%, maybe 4% at most over those years, right? It's tough. Now, there are rules about what we can look into. If you take the strictest rule of the library and what we can be in, we certainly weren't anywhere close. We were very conservative, and you get conservative returns. So initially, when I saw it, my question was, well, why are we so conservative on money that's going to sit for 15 years? So we've asked questions of that. Anyway, I would say there wasn't much of an appetite to change strategy.
But he also was getting out of the business. So we were like a lingering client.
Yeah.
That he really, didn't want to continue in that vein. So we looked at two or three other investors, investing firms to figure out, and then voted as a board and chose this one.
Yeah.
And
We did a bit of a
who
bake
is
off.
this one? Is it-
Westchester Financial Advisors,
Okay, and this is a small local,
local.
regional, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, I think I just agree with all of the approaches that you're laying out. I think that they're very healthy. I think that there was a little drift, I know, during my tenure before, and I think refreshing our review of the investments is a great idea. So, kudos to you guys, and we're certainly happy to weigh in if and when appropriate. Thanks, John.
Great.
Very good.
Great. And then we good? What am I reading back here? Oh, right. Okay. So we have to vote. We have to vote on this to make the adjustments. Okay. So each year for the audit, they kind of clean up the books, if you will, and adjust things around. So where we didn't spend, you kind of can shift things to where we did spend, and you put it in this way, and it makes for a clean audit, which is nice. So it looks like there's $67,575, right, across. Do you have this up on the screen? Across various accounts, just to adjust the appropriations. Essentially get them to actual.
And this speaks a little bit to what John was talking about, because you'll see that there's in that is also things that happen within the investment accounts, and it's really not something that we should really have to deal with like this.
All right, so I motion to approve the reallocations on the appropriations for
I second.
$67,575.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. John, were you going to share our final decision on the fund balance policy, or did we have a final decision at the finance meeting? No?
I don't know if we had a final
Okay,
decision,
all right.
but we're well covered.
I
We're
know
well
that.
covered.
I know that.
I think the final decision was no decision.
Okay. Okay. We're still talking. That's fine. All right. Anything else in finance? You good? Okay. We'll move on to technology. Lots happening. Mike?
Heidi and Jennifer are happy. Jennifer, do you want to make a comments on how it went yesterday?
Pretty much sums it up. I'm thrilled. Everything went very smoothly yesterday, right down to the very last thing. When WLS tried to do one last little thing to make things more difficult, and our guys handled it beautifully. They came and picked up all their equipment this morning. We're officially switched over, and all is well. We're all really happy with the new equipment. Things seem to be moving faster. We're efficient. All good. So thank you for all of you for your support with that changeover. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Richard, governance, legal, anything?
Well, just a thank you to you, Valerie, for spurring the bylaw meeting. We're going to be meeting on Friday, it looks like, based on a late vote that I submitted, which you may not have seen.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, right, that's why I mentioned it. So we're going to be reviewing and not cleaning up, but revising the bylaws as appropriate. And obviously, if anyone wants a copy to review and to add their thoughts, we're always happy to have them. If not, we'll give a marked up or track changes version once we produce them.
Great, thank you. Public relations, Jenna.
Great. So Jennifer and I need to align. She reached out to me. I owe her a thought on our strategy on the press plan for the children's room renovation. Jennifer, I think it's still the case that it's been pushed out a little bit into January, right?
Got a very happy surprise last week, beginning of the week, that they showed up yesterday.
Oh.
So we are down to just having a few of the canopies go up, and it's officially done, as is the sensory room. And we're also going to talk about how we're going to announce the fine free.
Exactly. That's so it's so great. And it was already covered, obviously, in the recorder, the fine free, and some of the updates, which is exciting. I think our strategy is going to be to wait till January when it's often like a little bit slower in the news cycle versus pushing something out for holiday with so many people away. But yeah, I mean, the early thought here is that we're going to hit up all of our local outlets, and then we're also going to take an approach to highlight the room downstairs. Just there's so many angles we could take with parenting, children's outlets, health. So we're really kind of excited to evolve that. And I have to go down a rabbit hole trying to identify those outlets. So looking forward to that. But we're very excited to see how everyone reacts. We're gonna go wide.
Loving the recorder articles. I love reading about us in the paper every week. It's just wonderful.
So much of that is Jennifer and the recorder team. I mean, they don't even reach out the way that they used to with the prior outlet. They're just covering it really seamlessly. So well done, everyone.
All right. And just mentioning the children's room, that's like I said, Stephanie and I went over to look at it. Everyone should go look before we leave, and also at the sensory room before we leave, because I think there's been a lot of good work there. And now we just need to tell everyone about it. Selena's not here. Anything on program, Jennifer, that you wanted to share? Or are you going to share anything in your director's report? Okay. I know there's statistics. All of that is in here, so feel free to read that as well. Anne.
HR, it's that time of year where we do the employee reviews. So I'll be getting together with the HR committee, and we will be writing evaluations, and the employees also do self-evaluations. So we'll be reviewing that too. And I'm also going to make a motion for very quick executive session for HR after the meeting.
I second that. All right. Long range planning, Mike.
I don't know if it's necessary to really put it up, but you can put it up in case anybody has any comments if they had a chance to read it. The Long Range Planning Committee also had a very good meeting. We started essentially with a base of what we have already, which is really a plan that goes from 2021 to 2026. But it was felt that we should be updating it more frequently than in the past. And I think the current plan is to put in there something like 3 years, but really to look at it every year, just to kind of see where we are sitting in terms of the long range plan. We worked with long range wish lists from everybody in the committee, including Jennifer. Using the original document. I eventually generated a draft document that I submitted here, which I submitted several days, and I hope everybody got a chance to look at it. And I'm opening for any comments, questions, other things we should be talking about, long range, etc.
Thank you. Did you end up meeting with town supervisor?
Yes.
Could you have anything to share from that meeting?
I did. Rich Levin and I had a nice coffee with our town supervisor. He just had a very open-ended discussion about his wonderful feelings about the library. He's got a lot of ideas about the library and the town in general, nothing that really could be part of our long-range planning per se, but it was in general a very good meeting that we had, and he's very, very positive about the library. So I think we need to approve this latest draft of the long-range plan for this year. We need a motion. Yeah, so if nobody has any further comments, then it's a final draft.
I just took out the
Oh,
library
took out about
ID
the, oh,
thing.
there is,
Fine.
one wish was, a system called the Library IQ, which was going to give us the ability to really know on a real-time basis, the ins and outs of, library function. But it turned out that that was not, something that WLS could support in terms of, what would you say? I would say their version of privacy concerns. Third parties. Yeah.
I'll make a motion if we're ready, for the approval of an amended long-range plan, as proposed and circulated by Mike earlier.
I second it. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay.
I'll make one other comment that I forgot. The way the agenda reads is the long-range plan, the community survey. One of the things that we talked about was that survey is not quite what we envision, and then probably working with Jenna, it's more community, testing community engagement rather than a survey per se.
I love that. We could even like reframe it to like community insights or community something
Yes. Yep. That sounds great.
positive.
Great, thank you. Parking improvement, maybe that's what I sent you. Did I send you the traffic study? And I didn't send you the annual letter. Yeah, oh, oh, no, okay, so, yeah, well, that's a lot for me to executive summarize. Actually, to be fair, we had received it before. This was just the update based on the conversation that we had with the town engineer with the traffic engineer. So the one thing I still need to do is tick and tie to my notes, which I think Anne, Mike, and I were in that meeting. So if the three of us can at least tick and tie to our notes. And then I think the next step is we have to discuss as a board, what do we do, if anything, next, right? So I've shared, I think, with a few people, I need to draw it. I have a thought of maybe a way that we could do some parking that is cheaper than what we were originally planning. But it's literally just a thought in my head. And so I really need to take the map of the outside area and kind of, handwrite what I'm thinking, or we can all go outside and take a walk. It's actually warm tonight, but during the day is much better. But anyway, so I have some thoughts, and I know, Rich, you and I have to connect now because you're on the committee now. So I can connect with you, give you an update of kind of where we are. But ultimately, the last thing that happened was we met at the planning board, and they said, we'll give you the town engineer for free to review the traffic report so that you know what to expect before you come in. 7 months later, he finally met with us, and we did that. So this is kind of where we are, a little bit later than we would have liked, but we now at least have his input before we get in front of the planning board and hear them say, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? So that's kind of where we're at. I think if we go the route of making some adjustments, that to me, the next step, if we all agree, once I draw it, is that we go back to the planning board informational only. So without, a true drawing, without, paying an engineer and all that type of stuff, because that's at least free. And then get the temperature. It's a new planning board. At least the head has left. So there's a new leader of the planning board. At least one new person on the planning board. So just to get their temperature and see if it's changed since a year ago, and then decide what to do from there. So that's kind of what's in my head.
Don't we have a chicken and the egg problem with the planning board in terms of them wanting specificity and us not knowing what level of specificity?
Yeah, so they do allow now informational meetings where you go forward without bringing your schematic and have a conversation. And so that was my thought, to do that first. That's what we did last time, where they said, get a traffic report. So we did. And then I think at the last time we presented to them, I made I think, an okay and nice enough comment about the fact that we were a nonprofit and that continuing to have to pay for, minor changes and, every month coming before them. And that's when Michelle offered me the engineer for free for a discussion. So again, just trying to push that, and I will continue to push that with this planning board because it's very costly to tweak your schematics every time someone has a difference of opinion. Okay. All right. So next steps for us is I need to just take a look at the map and draw what I'm thinking, and then Rich and I need to get together as the committee, and then we'll come back with a bigger recommendation to everybody. Okay.
I'll just make one
Mhm.
comment to that. You've jogged my memory that during the discussion that we had with Kevin Hansen, we talked about Pound Ridge in general in terms of intersections, that there are a number of intersections within Pound Ridge that the town is looking at in terms of getting grants and fixing what they see are problems. This is one of the intersections that they're looking at.
Yeah, I remember them saying that at the planning board meeting last time we were there. I think what's fascinating about it is the traffic report did not signify a large number of accidents. And I think everyone in their head just thinks that's happened. And the data does not support that.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that, but I'm glad you did. In 4 years, I think no accident in 4 years, and the one accident that did exist was on Stonehill Road, and had nothing to do with the library, which doesn't diminish the safety concern, but it's a fact, and it's a fact that I'm glad came out of the report.
Yeah. I think the safety concern too that I don't know who can fix is that people drive twice the speed limit past the library. And they fix that by the town park by often putting a police officer there so we all slow down as we go down the hill because we're afraid there'll be a cop there. So, so exactly. But that's one of the issues is right past the library, people are literally going double the speed limit.
There used to be a cop stationed here often too, parked in those in a handicap space facing out for I used to see, but not recently, but I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Well, because it's just something we can't control, right? I mean, there's nothing we can control, as a library. The town has to deal with it. Yeah.
No, but that's a good suggestion that we could make a request to the police department. I mean, it is our town's police department, and I think.
Well, and one of the things we did do was go to the state and ask them to put up the library, that there's the sign now that shows there's a library there, but that's about all we are capable of, changing. No, it doesn't. So, okay. Last children's room.
Yeah. So everyone who's in this room needs to take a little hop, skip, and jump down to the children's room. It's just delightful and a very happy place. So and it all worked out great. The painting was done. So and the ceiling tiles were painted, and there's clouds, and it's really, really adorable. And we got a great surprise when we heard from CLC that the shelving was coming today. It came today, and the carpeting was installed yesterday. So this in the last 24 hours, there's been a huge transformation, and it's just lovely. So the only thing that we're waiting for now are canopies to be completed, and what is that? And then putting the tablets on the tables and putting the books back. But it's lovely. Thank you to everyone for their ideas, Jennifer for your hard work, the foundation. It's just you really do smile when you see it. The greens really are very pretty. And I did have I know this has nothing to do with the children's room, but I did go down to the sensory room today too, and that's lovely also. So great job. This is really our library needs to be showcased in some magazine. That's it.
It is. It is. Yeah. Big news and small. It's absolutely gorgeous, and so proud of everyone and thankful for all that everybody did to make it happen. And I love to see the children's faces as they walk in the room tomorrow. Okay. Director's report.
So in the trustee Google Drive, I've included what's called the member library statistics. Every year, every library in the Westchester, in the nation, is required to turn in their statistics, ours to New York State. Now, this report compares all of the Westchester libraries. There were some significant achievements on our part that I'm particularly proud of that I wanted to bring to your attention. First is, as you can see, we're 10th out of the 38 libraries in Westchester in the percent of population served that are card holders. We're at 62%. The county average is 50%. Holdings per card holder, we're 4th out of 38. Library sponsored programs, we're 6th out of 38. And if you can see the ones that we're competing against, Yonkers, Austining, Harrison, New Rochelle, Green, those are some of the biggest libraries in the whole county. So yay us. Again, here, adult library programs and juvenile programs, 6th and 8th, respectively. One-on-one sessions, that is our passport and notary services, were 9th out of 38. And lastly, personnel as a percentage of operating budget, we're dead last. We are operating at 38% of our budget is going towards personnel expenses. Indeed. And then since Stephanie's here, maybe you would like to weigh in on stuff that's going on with the foundation. We're still waiting on answers from grants and stuff. Did you want to speak to that? And you can't do so without a microphone, so let me. Yeah, all three if you are so inclined.
Okay, so I think trying to think of
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I can update it if you like.
okay, so the tablets.
Yes.
So the request was for the tablets, the learning to read digital tablets. We did not have a quorum at our last meeting, unfortunately, so we were unable to vote on that. So January 13th will be our annual meeting where we have directors, members, and members emeritus, whatever, attending. It will actually be at my home, so I'm hoping for a quorum so that we can vote on that. And then regarding the bright light, we had some questions around that, which we had I just emailed Jennifer about. Some of the questions were, do we know of a library or organization that have this light bright
Yeah, it's called the Everbright.
Everbright Mini? And if they do, is there a way to prove that it increases foot traffic? One of the other questions was the sort of durability. What's the lifespan? It's expensive device, and we want to make sure that it doesn't need to be replaced next year. I imagine there's probably a 2 or 3 year warranty, but beyond that, what is the usage, or life expectancy? Can't remember any other questions off the top of my head. I did do a little research from Stepping Stones. They also have a similar sensory board, which is a non-digital version, but it's actually more expensive than the electronic one. Yeah, it's $18,000. And they also offered to build one for the library. I think that they've got people that can do that. And I said, well, we'll probably just stick with the Everbright Mini if we do move forward with anything. But just to get a sense of what other folks, because that is a high traffic, much more than Town Ridge Library. And then the other question was around sort of usage and hours. Is that sensory room open to patrons all of the time? Are there, is it only the hours between 3 and 5 after school? Sort of get a sense of that as well. There may have been other questions I can't remember now, but and then lastly, there was another grant that we're still trying to determine. There are a number of there's a lot of information being requested for the applicant, but if we are not the end user, we're wondering if those questions can be answered by the end user, since it's a sort of a complicated situation. I don't know
Yeah,
if
so we talked about this, I think, last meeting, right? It's the New York Council for the Arts grant, but you have to be a 501c3 to apply. We are not, so we can't apply. So we were talking to the foundation about whether they were interested in applying on our behalf. And so it is complicated because there's all these questions and, who are you answering them on? Are you answering them on behalf of the applicant, which is the foundation? You would think they would want to know the information about the person who's going to be using the money, but we're not the applicant.
Right.
So anyway, I think there's more questions right now than answers.
Yeah.
Which we're trying to work through.
I think that was it.
Thank you for the update, Stephanie. Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but you recalled just about every single thing to detail. I did reach out to the Everbright company and I got some very positive feedback, which I'll share with the foundation. And I also reached out to the New York Council of the Arts to get clarification on whether they would require that both from the applicant and from the end user or what just together. So I will get back to you as soon as I hear, but I know that the deadline is looming. So I'm trying to get that moving as quickly as possible. No worries. Thank you. And thank you for being so easy to work with. I just wanted to recognize donations that we received. Maria Roth gave us $80 in appreciation of our notary services. Mr. and Mrs. Richard Schlesinger, $350. And Marcia Stone in memory of Sharon Cohen and in honor of Deirdre Breen and Philip Coyle. All of them are our wellness instructors. And then just finally, a reminder to all the trustees, December 31st is looming. If you could please take a moment to go into the trustee education folder, which I provide at every board meeting, and look at any of the approved providers. Those links will take you to webinars that you can use for your trustee education that's required every year.
No, I know. But the links, I tried to manipulate the links. They didn't.
Oh, you're having trouble with it? I'll
Yeah.
resend them.
Yeah, in other words, like I saw the listing and I saw that Valerie is the only one who's done training.
And Mike, yeah.
Okay, because there was a chart that's
It should be
barren.
updated with all of you on it. Did you see?
I just saw Valerie's name on it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's there. The one I would recommend, the most varied and greatest number would be Web Junction, and absolutely anything that catches your interest, all of it is approved. So, and that's it from me. And thank you.
And I have a personal plug for the open meeting New York State video. I think it just taught me so much about the way the library should be run and the whole approach to these kind of meetings. So a personal recommendation.
You need information about open meetings law? I have a connection to that. Okay.
Yeah, and once you click on the Web Junction, definitely, when I was choosing a second class, because I'd done the other one early in April, it is the easiest to navigate, and they have tons that are just recordings, and so you can just watch an hour recording on any topic. I actually watched, and I was wondering if Jennifer had seen it before. It was on rural libraries, and did the story walk. And that was someone, so they had a whole bunch of best practices for, getting folks involved in rural libraries. So anyways, I was laughing. I was like, oh, that was a good one. Okay. So yeah, please get those in by the end of the month. Anyone have any new business they want to share? Any other remarks, public remarks? Okay, we're going to take a 2-minute and move into executive session. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Let's go do that in the couple minutes.